In the wake of the bogus guilty verdicts in the Trump trial in New York, California Democrats are celebrating. They say it's going to hurt California Republicans in their races this fall. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why that's all hogwash, why it helps Republicans, including Donald Trump, even in the state of California. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we have all looked at the coverage. Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts in his New York hush money trial. Look, we knew that the liberal jurors were gunning for Trump. We know that the process is a complete farce, and it'll get appealed and overturned on appeal. I'm very confident of that. A first-year law student would have been embarrassed to bring the charges in the first place, and it's time for adults to intervene. I also think that the attacks on Trump are consistently backfiring. When you take a look at all the polling, it's making Trump's support all the more strong amongst his base. They're more motivated to work hard and to contribute and to volunteer. That only makes it a stronger campaign for him to run. But I also believe that the folks in the middle, independent voters, are probably seeing this for what it is. It's a witch hunt. It's an abuse of power by Democrats. They've weaponized the justice system against political opponents. Now, these are the same folks who will sit there and clutch their pearls and decry election manipulation and abuse of power by Republicans, when in fact, they are the ones that have actually invented the entire abuse of power playbook. And we're seeing it play out right now with regards to Trump. Many of these voters should be asking themselves, and I think that this is an important message to be conveying. If this can happen to Donald Trump, it can happen to you too. If they can do this to a well-known political leader who's a billionaire, if they could do this to someone that half of America supports, then you, some random person, have no chance to fight back against this corrupt system. They will come for you eventually. If you disagree with them, you'll get canceled. If you disagree with their policies, you'll get terminated and fired. Remember the mandates just 2 years ago? Get the shot or lose your job. All of these things are in the fiber of the far left extremists in this country. And I think that that is going to be seen. But the question becomes, how does this play in California, in the deep blue state of California? And I'll tell you right now, it's going to benefit Republicans. Now, the Democrats are out there trying to weaponize this. I've already seen press releases in our inbox, because we're on the media lists of Democrat politicians, just to find out what they're saying, what they're up to. Attacking their Republican opponents for being aligned with a felon. I'm going to read you a couple of those press statements in just a moment. But people can separate out Trump from other candidates. They do that all the time. I think, after 8 years of Trump in politics, people see differences. He's his own brand. He's his own, unique personality and force of nature. But more importantly, a lot of these folks, the independent voters, the toss-up voters, they are not swayed by the Trump drama. The Democrats constantly making these accusations. They're swayed by the price of gas. They're swayed by crime or grime with homelessness, or the fact that their kids aren't getting a good education. They're swayed by issues that matter to them. And Republicans actually can do quite well. particularly in California, if they stay focused on the issues that matter. I'm not saying don't talk about what's going on with Trump. I fervently believe that this is an abuse of power, that this is corruption, that this is anti-democratic, that this is election interference. And that, yes, the people behind it, the Democrats behind it, they are the criminals. They're the ones that should be held accountable. And I think we should be making that part of our discussion, but not to the absence of issues that matter. And you can tie these things together. Republicans should say the reason why they're doing this to him is that he's going to secure the border so that we don't have the national security threats flowing across. But powerful interests want to destroy him because they know he's the only one willing to secure the border to protect the homeland, to protect you. Donald Trump is the only one fighting for affordability. He's trying to end the greedy New Deal, the greedy New Steel. And that's why these people are trying to destroy him. Donald Trump doesn't feel like we should have all this foreign aid going over to countries and getting involved in their internal disputes and sending our men and women to put their lives on the line for a conflict that has nothing to do with us. The oligarchs on the American side, they want us to be involved in those conflicts. They want your money going overseas. All of these issues can be linked together. The reason why they hate him so much is because he's fighting on the issues that matter to the American people. And he's fighting against forces that are benefiting at the expense of the American people. And that because he's willing to do that, he has been unjustly targeted. I think that there is a overarching message, a broad message as to why they're doing it. So I encourage Republicans in California, when you get into fights, and I'm not just talking to candidates here, I'm talking to anyone who supports Trump, when you're discussing these issues with your neighbors, don't just make it about Trump and what's going on with him, although there's an absolutely worthy case to be made there. Explain to them why they're attacking Trump. They're attacking Trump because he's fighting for them. Explain that. Make sure they understand that. Because if Democrats are out there running a Trump, Trumpity Trump, anti-Trump, Trump, they're not going to win this election. I think that they are making a massive miscalculation with their approach to this election. And we see that, I think, in the polling numbers, which I'll share some of those polling numbers in just a minute. Okay, real quick. How are the media outlets reviewing this? Well, LA Times has this: Trump plans to raise money in California in the aftermath of felony convictions. Okay. He's coming to California next week. He'll be in San Francisco, Beverly Hills, and Newport Beach. Let me make a prediction. The roads are going to be packed full of Trump supporters, even in the deep blue state of California. With these convictions, these phony convictions in hand, you're going to have even more people lining up to support President Trump. It's going to be astounding. That's my prediction for next week. Just mark my words. He's also going to raise, not only in California, but nationwide, a crap ton of money. Almost said it. A crap ton of money. And that will fuel his campaign for president. Now, yes, it's true that because of the illegitimate charges and legal attacks that he's had to deal with, he's got a lot of legal bills that he's trying to fend off the Democrats on. And that's part of their strategy here, by the way. Part of the strategy is not just to persecute him and go after him through lawfare, but to drain his campaign money. It's not going to work because people see the injustice and they're doubling and tripling down in support. Politico actually got it pretty well. Here's their headline, which is surprising for Politico. Trump's guilty. Republicans could still win in California. Now, I think the way that they're positioning it is, it's bad for Republicans, but they could find their way out of the problem here. No. I don't think it's a net negative unless Republicans screw it up, which, by the way, is a very real issue. So it goes on to say Trump is toxic in California. Look, we're a blue state. There's a lot of people who don't like Trump, but more and more people are coming around, more surprisingly than you think. And more on that in just a minute in terms of the polling. So they go on to talk about some of the press releases that I referenced against the congressional members that are target seats. So you've got David Valadao, Michelle Steele, Ken Calvert, who are fighting off strong Democrat challengers. And remember, the House majority, the road to House majority for Republicans and Democrats comes through California. We matter. We will be decisive in who gets to be the House Speaker, which party controls Congress. So Rob Stutzman says that he expects Republicans, and Rob Stutzman is a never Trumper, but he's a Republican consultant. He expects that House candidates will stay away from Trump in California. But he also concedes it's not much of a factor in House races. I don't think it's much of a factor in House races, but I don't think they should stay away necessarily from the issue. They can message it properly, as I described earlier. Ken Calvert's opponent, Will Rawlins, the Democrat, tweeted, quote, "We deserve a representative who cares more about the 750,000 of us in Riverside County than one convicted felon in New York." Says Will Rawlins, who wants to spend billions of dollars on foreign aid, your tax dollars, in conflicts and issues that we have nothing to do with. Will Rawlins cares more about Palestinians getting foreign aid than people who are retired on fixed income being able to afford their prescriptions in Coachella Valley. How about that, Will Rawlins? Let's turn it right around. But again, Calvert should punch back. I have not seen the Calvert response yet, but we'll bring it to you when we do. David Min is running in Orange County. Democrat David Min, DUI Dave, running against Scott Baugh, Republican, good guy. David Min says, quote, "My Republican opponent, Scott Baugh, is now officially supporting a convicted felon." So that's, again, the fixation of Democrats. In neither one of those statements are you hearing messaging that I think resonates with the toss-up voters. Republicans need to punch back with the issues that matter to the voters. And if you want to bring up Trump, put it in the context of they're going after him because they really want to keep coming after you. Again, I do believe that this message in California can win. In California, I think the Trump phony baloney felony convictions and what's coming next, which are a whole gaggle of other misfit attacks and fraudulent and phony charges, it will only serve to mobilize Republicans and conservatives and bring more people into our coalition. So I want you not to give up hope, not to throw your hands up in the air and say the system is crooked. It is crooked. It is broken. But it's up to us to turn out more than ever. We have to send a message. In California, do I think Trump can win? No, it's going to be hard in November for Trump to win in California. I'm no fool. I look at data. But can you imagine in the presidential race and even in the U.S. Senate race with Steve Garvey getting as close to 50% as possible? That's how you make a state competitive, is when you astound them with how close things actually became in an election. So again, I'm not going to promise you that we're going to turn California red this election in the presidential race, but I sure as hell would like to see numbers that are much more competitive. And I think that's what you're going to see. And by making California more competitive across the board, you help all those other seats that we're running for. Everyone needs to get in the game. Everyone needs to be motivated and angry about what's gone on in this country, not just to Trump, but to all of us with the failure of the left. And in California, even voters are turning on Joe Biden Here's the headline. Most voters in California poll disapprove of Biden job performance for first time. And how about this? Biden and the Kennedy conundrum in California, a whole story in California Globe about a number of polls that have come out showing that Joe Biden's numbers for president, the actual vote for president, much softer than a few years ago. And that at the last poll, we had Biden in California at the Emerson poll in February had Biden at 51%, way below his 60+% that he got in 2020 election. Trump was at 32%, which is pretty good given the numbers in 2020. And I believe he's going to get more than that. Kennedy is at 6%, Robert F. Kennedy. West and Stein at 2% and 1% each. There's another poll, though. The Independent Center found Biden only at 48%, so under the 50% mark, and Kennedy was at 12%. Can you imagine if Biden falls to the low 40s? I think that's absolutely possible if he's the nominee. And I do believe Trump is going to be doing much better in California because of how bad our country is. And Californians even are waking up and realizing that we are in real trouble. Look, California Democrats are doing the big victory dance. Go ahead, be arrogant, be happy. Doesn't change the fact that your ideas, your policies are hurting Californians. And that if we allow 4 more years of Joe Biden, we're going to get California for America. We cannot have that happen. And so I encourage all of you, react to these verdicts by getting in the game, getting in the fight, being even more committed to fighting like hell. Because guess what, my friends? If you saw what they're doing to Trump, recognize it can happen to you next. We have to fight like our lives are on the line because guess what? They are actually on the line with a lot of these bad policies and the corruption that we're up against with this system. Go online to Reform California, and we are the ones fighting in California. We're leading the charge, but we need your help. Chip in a contribution today at reformcalifornia.org and sign up to get information on our voter guide and volunteer opportunities, as well as events that we hold in your area. Go to the bottom of the website, reformcalifornia.org, first name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. That's all it takes to stay informed. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.